Hello, and welcome to the Business Cortex, your one-stop shop for everything business. Today, we're going to compare some of the popular business frameworks that you see hovering around, and we're going to show how the Business Cortex contains and integrates all of them into a nice visual format for you to understand, discuss, and talk about with your friends and business partners. So first, we're going to integrate the E-Myth Mastery by Michael Gerber. We're going to talk about the business model canvas, the strategy tool that has been making all of the rounds. And we're going to get a little historical using Michael Porter's value chain, which is kind of focused on manufacturing. And we're also going to talk about the lesser known operating model canvas, the really popular balanced scorecard, and kind of a niche thing called the Escher cycle, which was actually one of my personal favorites. So with the Gerber's E-Myth Mastery, he made waves in the business community talking about the difference between a technician, a manager, and an owner. And he told everybody that you cannot grow a business by being a technician. For us, that is down in the operations layer. The manager is up in our startup and systems layer, and the owner is in our strategy layer. If you think about it, the owner just kind of wants to think about the general direction of the business. So they hire a suite of managers to figure out all of the things they need to do to keep the business run. And they have technicians that are the people that execute each part of the business. Now, in any organizational environment, you have to separate these by duties. So you'll see finance is connected to finance over here. You see support is down in operations. You see product is up in design. You'll see that all of the things, or many of the things in his system, are mapped onto the business cortex. And the other business cortex that I like is the business model canvas, created by Mr. Osterwalder. It is a fantastic strategy tool, and most of his stuff is focused on strategy. It helps you think about all of the things that you need to do in order to get a business up and running. Whereas you'll see that we have a couple of, although the marketing is in the customer relationships and customer segments and channels, we have the value proposition, the three things, what the value proposition is, the revenue streams and cost structure. These are all situated in the profit. Now you notice that most of this stuff that we map onto the business model canvas, from the business model canvas to the business cortex, is on the higher side of things. That means that when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of actually making and shipping your product, whether it is physical or server-based, it's not very detailed, and that's not a bad thing. It is a very, very useful tool for strategy, but sometimes you need something that is not going to be useful for just a few minutes. You need something that can take you from concept to cash. We have Michael Porter's value chain. He is a little more understood and remembered by his SWOT analysis, that is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Whereas this is a little more manufacturing focused. You'll see that we have mapped a lot of what's going on in his program over to the business cortex. Now, there's a couple of things that I would like to have changed about his. One, in order to kind of match my thinking about how I sequenced what's going on in the business model canvas, I would separate marketing and sales and put marketing all the way over here, because you have to generate demand before you start making stuff and taking orders. So that's just one small critique. But you'll see that a lot of the things that are happening on his side of this slide are also mapped to what's on my side of the slide. We have Kaplan and Norton's balanced scorecard. This is something that large businesses use to analyze their operations and start to figure out what they need to do in order to improve them. And of course, just like before in all of the other slides, we're going to map those over to here. I have to go back and research this a little bit because I didn't do the color. You'll see that the customer is definitely all focused on the marketing. Everything financial, that's all focused over here. And then we have organizational capacity, that's all focused in product. And internal processes can kind of go anywhere. So I just kind of stuck it in process. Now, you'll just know that it looks like there's a bit of a different color scheme between ours. And then we also have the operating model canvas. This is a situation that was created a few years ago to complement the business model canvas. And you'll see that it kind of matches and maps to things over here. And you'll also see that it's not as strategy heavy. So you can use the business model canvas to work on your strategy, and then use your operating model canvas to bridge that down and take that into the nitty gritty and daily execution of your business. And then we have my perennial favorite, the Escher cycle. This is actually something that comes out of one of my favorite business books of all time. He wrote a hell of a book explaining a lot of things that were really, really abstract before I read it, and then it made it bridge between the abstract concepts and stuff like the Porter's value chain back into something that I understood, like the jobs that I had been working at and the businesses that my parents owned. So you can see that the mapping is a little clear, because not only is his 3-part model useful, I mapped it to what I can now think of as my marketing, product, and profit columns, or the different major functions. And you'll see, and it's spread. And then what I did is I then took that out and I broke those into the long-term, medium-term, and short-term layers. So that's where I kind of got my inspiration from. And then you'll see what we went over were the E-Myth Mastery, the business model canvas, the value chain, the operating model canvas, the balanced scorecard, and the Escher cycle. Now, what you get out of the Business Cortex, it is holistic in that it really includes all of the things that many of these models include. It's longitudinal in that it shows you from concept to cash. So it helps you when you're strategizing as an entrepreneur. It has helped when you are a startup building your systems, and it helps in the operations of your business in the day-to-day. It's cross-functional. You see we had market, product, and profit, and the business model canvas shows you how all of those different functions fit together. It's also sequential in showing you that when you make a change in one area, you will see the downstream effects. So if you make a change in production, that's going to affect your finance, your sales, it will affect your finance, your sales, your operations, and your accounting, because the money is going to change. It doesn't necessarily affect anything in terms of your advertising. And it's also awesome because it is a spatial mental model. It is designed to be easy to look at and easy to remember. So it's not just a bunch of ideas floating around your heads that you have to study again and again and again. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Well, you're going to have to see it a couple more times, but we'll work on that. Thanks for coming out. God bless and good night.